Welcome to British Focus. Today, we're diving into a shocking incident that has left millions outraged. Greater Manchester Police recently visited a grandmother's home, questioning her over a simple WhatsApp message calling for local councillors to resign. Many now blame the Labour government for abusing its power. Reform UK's Tice confronted Home Secretary Yvette Cooper, demanding answers, only to receive the same scripted response. Does Labour really care about the British people? Let's find out.
Richard Tice.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the Home Secretary agree with me that it would be a better use of Greater Manchester police officers' time if they actually policed the streets and prevented crime rather than visiting grandmothers' homes to discuss a Facebook post?
Here.
Well, perhaps the honourable member missed the discussion about this earlier. We have been clear. Neighbourhood policing is the central priority for policing that this government has set to tackle town centre crimes, to tackle challenges across the country, and also to tackle serious violence, including violence against women and girls, and also including the knife crime, which is devastating young lives. Those are the priorities we have made clear to police forces right across the country as part of our policing reform and part of our new legislation.
As you can see, Labour completely ignored the incident and instead shifted the blame onto the Tories. This response is beyond disappointing. It shows they have no interest in addressing real concerns or protecting free speech. Their refusal to take accountability only fuels the frustration of the British people. Do you think this Labour government is the worst in UK history? Like this video if you agree and share your thoughts in the comments below. Other news. Let's take a look. Keir Starmer's government is once again under fire, this time for its handling of another major controversy. Many are outraged by the latest developments, as Labour politicians continue to dodge accountability. What's really going on? Stay with us as we break it all down in this next clip.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Greater Manchester has one of the highest crime rates in the country, with many suffering as a result of antisocial behaviour. But this weekend we saw police officers knocking on the door of a grandmother because she dared to criticise a Labour councillor for his role in the pensioner-hating WhatsApp scandal. Does the Home Secretary agree that this is a waste of police time?
Well, this government has been clear about the important focus of policing needs to be on the neighbourhood crimes that blight our communities. That's why we are increasing neighbourhood policing, when I'm afraid his party slashed the number of neighbourhood police on the beat, so we lost thousands of neighbourhood police in our communities, and why we are also focusing the police on serious violence. That's what tomorrow's legislation will be, is to focus on tackling serious violence and also making sure that we deal with the most serious crimes in our communities, something that too often, time and again, the party that presided over a 61% increase in shoplifting alone in the last 2 years they were in power has failed repeatedly to do.
The recent events surrounding Greater Manchester Police's visit to a grandmother's home over a simple WhatsApp message have sparked national outrage, and rightly so. Both videos expose how Labour's government, under Keir Starmer's leadership, is not only failing to uphold free speech but actively enabling the suppression of dissenting voices. The fact that law enforcement resources are being used to intimidate citizens for expressing their political opinions is deeply troubling. This is not just about one isolated incident, it is part of a broader pattern of authoritarian tendencies within the Labour Party, where criticism is met with suppression rather than engagement. Labour's blatant disregard for free speech. The first video highlights how Reform UK's Richard Tice directly confronted Home Secretary Yvette Cooper, demanding an explanation for this disgraceful use of police resources. Instead of addressing the core issue, Cooper completely evaded the question, repeating her standard talking points about neighbourhood policing and crime reduction. This is a classic Labour tactic: ignore the problem, distract the public, and shift the blame elsewhere. But the British people aren't fools. They see through these weak excuses. The fundamental issue here isn't just about policing priorities. It's about the abuse of power. Why are the police being used to monitor and question private citizens over their opinions? Why is Labour so afraid of criticism that they resort to intimidating a grandmother for merely expressing concerns about local politicians? This is the real issue, and Labour refuses to acknowledge it. The second video further reinforces Labour's apathy towards fundamental democratic rights. This time, it was Conservative MP Vickers who grilled Yvette Cooper, yet her response was just as dismissive and evasive as before. Instead of acknowledging the injustice of the situation, she immediately launched into a partisan attack against the Tories. Rather than taking responsibility for Labour's increasing authoritarianism, she resorted to blaming past Conservative governments for issues completely unrelated to this scandal. This tactic is not only dishonest but incredibly frustrating for the British people. Labour continuously avoids accountability and instead plays the blame game whenever they are confronted. The fact that Cooper didn't even attempt to address the actual problem proves that Labour simply doesn't care about the erosion of free speech and civil liberties. Their only priority is protecting their own political interests, even if it means using the police as a tool for silencing dissent. The broader implications: a government that doesn't care. Both videos demonstrate a chilling reality. Labour is willing to sacrifice core democratic values in order to maintain control. The idea that police officers, who should be focusing on actual crime, are instead spending their time knocking on doors to interrogate citizens over Facebook or WhatsApp posts is deeply disturbing. It sets a dangerous precedent where the government, rather than protecting freedom of expression, actively works to suppress it. This raises a serious question. How far is Labour willing to go to silence its critics? If they are comfortable with the police monitoring and harassing private citizens over political opinions now, what will they do next? Will they push for stricter online censorship? Will they criminalise political dissent altogether? These are the fears that many British citizens are now facing, and with good reason. What's even more alarming is how Labour doesn't even bother to hide their disregard for the public's concerns. In both videos, Yvette Cooper had the perfect opportunity to acknowledge the mistake, apologise, and assure the public that such an overreach would not happen again. Instead, she doubled down, refused to engage with the issue, and repeated the same empty rhetoric. This is proof that Labour is not just incompetent, they are actively working against the interests of the British people. A Labour government that has failed on every front. This isn't the first time Labour has shown such disregard for the people, and it certainly won't be the last. From failing to tackle crime effectively to pushing extreme woke policies, Labour has repeatedly proven that they are more interested in virtue signalling than actually governing. Instead of focusing on real issues like the cost of living crisis, the failing NHS, and rising crime rates, Labour is prioritising political censorship and authoritarian policing. These two videos expose Labour's true priorities. They are not here to protect the British people or improve their lives. They are here to push their own agenda, silence critics, and consolidate their power at any cost. The fact that they cannot even bring themselves to condemn the absurd policing of an elderly woman for a WhatsApp message speaks volumes about their arrogance and detachment from reality. The public's growing frustration. The response from the British public has been overwhelmingly negative. People are tired of Labour's dishonesty, their excuses, and their inability to take responsibility. The sheer fact that both Richard Tice and Matt Vickers had to press the same question repeatedly, only to receive the same non-answer from Yvette Cooper, is an insult to every citizen who values free speech. Labour is underestimating how deeply these incidents resonate with ordinary people. This isn't just about one grandmother, it's about the message Labour is sending to everyone. If you criticise us, we will come after you. That is the real danger here. People should not have to fear the police for simply expressing their opinions online. Yet, under Labour, this is exactly what is happening. And what does Labour do in response? Nothing. They don't acknowledge the problem, they don't offer solutions, and they certainly don't apologise. Instead, they shift blame and pretend that anyone questioning them is simply playing politics. This level of arrogance is why so many people are losing faith in the Labour government. Final verdict: Labour is not fit to lead. Both videos make one thing clear: Labour is unfit to govern. A party that refuses to uphold free speech, evades accountability, and uses the police as a tool for political suppression cannot be trusted. They have shown time and time again that they do not care about the British people, only about their own power. If Labour is allowed to continue down this path, the situation will only get worse. Free speech will be further eroded, government overreach will increase, and ordinary citizens will continue to be targeted for simply speaking their minds. This is not the Britain that people want. It is crucial that the British people wake up to the reality of what Labour is doing before it's too late. Their disregard for democracy, their failure to answer serious questions, and their outright hostility toward criticism make them completely unfit to lead this country. The time for excuses is over. Labour must be held accountable. Do you agree that this Labour government is the worst in British history? Like and share this video to make sure the truth gets out, and leave your thoughts in the comments below.